Hey, Stu.
Thomas, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, bud. How are you?
I'm great.
It's
I'm
great to
great.
see you, man.
You too.
Tactical Fitness Report with Stu Smith, number 102.
All right.
102, Stu. This is about night shift training. This is about people that work odd shifts. And you have a question
Well, I
from,
tell you what, I get a lot of questions on this topic.
do you really?
A lot of questions. I mean, there's people, military, law enforcement, firefighters that just have night shift hours. You know, medical personnel. Things that require a 24/7 security. Or ability to be present. Um, yeah, it's very common. So yeah, I got some really good tips for this one. So let's dig right into this one.
Yeah, so the question this fellow has is that he says he's starting to train for the military. He works overnight as an EMT. He works the shift from 10 to 9 in the morning, so basically third shift,
Right.
Tuesday through Thursday. And he said, on these days, how do I replace my morning workout? And what do you recommend as far as eating late at night, exercising before or after? Just basically, how do you deal with that lifestyle change?
Well, that's a great one. And I know you and I both have done some night shift stuff, and
Yeah.
it's just you're just work at night.
Yeah.
You know what? I have found that the first couple of days are kind of rough, when you're transitioning, but eventually you kind of get into a habit, and that's the key, is to try to establish habits quickly. And think about what you normally would do. Like if you're like this guy, like you and I, who both wake up early, get a workout in, and then go to work, right? Rest of the day, eat your regular meals at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe a snack somewhere in between. You got to do the same thing in the evening shift. You just take your schedule and shift it over 12 hours, basically, right? So let's think about that on the workout side. I have found that, if you shift your workout before your work shift, that's going to help you stay awake. So if this guy has a 10 p.m., start of a shift, he may need to do his workout about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, right? And make that one fairly tough, fairly, anaerobic, fairly moderate to high intensity. Do something to wake you up. That's going to wake up that sympathetic nervous system, get you going. Do some lifting, do some high rep calisthenics, whatever, just kind of get you moving in that direction. Then on the back end of that workout, your body's going to be a little in like this mild shock, by the time you get to daylight again, and you're like, daylight, I should be waking up. I'm still awake. It's this weird thing that goes on in your brain. So if you would now, after your work shift, do some kind of de-stressing exercise, something, go for a swim, go for a walk, walk the dogs, nice, easy jog, um, a bike, elliptical, something, just kind of bring in that parasympathetic nervous system, and, big deep breaths while you're doing it. Then that's going to make your ability to go to sleep a lot easier too, because you should be going to sleep pretty soon, from that night shift, right? I don't regularly recommend doing a whole lot of activity prior to that. I mean, you may have some morning routine where you got to get kids to school, or, things like that. So you're going to be up for a couple more hours running errands or whatever. That's fine. But try to unwind in some way. It could be yoga, it could be stretching, so that's the exercise piece. Now, how about the food piece?
Yeah.
Right. That's a big one too, because I've seen a lot of people go through a whole night shift just like they were sleeping. And what are you doing when you're sleeping? You're not eating.
Yeah.
Right. So if you go through
Shouldn't
that,
be.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, you're sleep eating, I guess. So if you go through that whole night shift without food, you're going to feel like crap in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. So you still need to eat. So your midnight, that's your lunch. Your 3 a.m., that's your mid-afternoon snack, protein bar, whatever.
Mhm.
Hydrate through the evening too, because
Yeah.
that's something that a lot, especially if you're working pretty hard, you're going to be dehydrated, or if it's in the summer. And then you come into your 6 a.m. roughly time, and you got to eat again. It's a breakfast, it can be dinner, whatever you want to call it. You need some calories, and that will fuel you, so you will be able to do some of those errands first thing in the morning, and do that nice easy cool down de-stressing cardio workout as well to help you sleep. So that's the two biggest things I have found to be the hardest things to juggle. Now we can talk about sleep here in a second, but how about you? It's the food part and the exercise part. If you don't shift those,
Yeah.
it's going to make that night shift a lot more difficult.
Yeah. I think, Stu, I think that the way you describe it makes good sense to me. Uh, it's just to reset your day. So move your day by 12 hours or 18 hours. That says instead of getting up at 5 and like work for a little bit and then do a workout, do the same thing there. Get yourself ready and then do a specific workout and then go get yourself prepared for work. Because that, we were talking about this earlier, actually, before we got on the thing that and this, I wouldn't expect anybody else to know this, but I've been struggling with recovering from cancer treatments that have been ongoing now since 2004.
Right.
And skin cancer, just,
yeah.
And unfortunately, because I was exposed too much to the sun. And we were talking about getting yourself back to old habits, where you're establishing your old habits. And the old habits that you and I have that have been with us for 30 years, or me for 30, you for 20, right?
Yeah.
Is more the case of you get up very early, you work out, you then have something to eat substantial to get you ready for your work day. You do your work day, and then you fuel and hydrate yourself during that period. Then you make sure you get rid of the stress in the evening so you can sleep, because you're back up at 4:30 or 4:45, right? And I think the point you're making is, look, think about it that way, reorient yourself. And the point that you and I were on was that I'm finally getting back to that routine where I have enough energy to get back to that, establishing that habit that we just talked about of waking up at a certain time, working out, fueling yourself properly, then moving on to your workday.
Yeah.
And I think that's if you can get yourself into that, and I know when you and I worked late, we used to work these kinds of hours, we had that routine.
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, you're recovering from, illness or whatever. And, you have these habits that once you can do again,
Yeah.
you feel
Oh man.
like you're 100%,
Yeah.
and you probably are, if
Yeah.
you're able to do your old habits again. I think it's just a good indicator of how you're progressing, with recovery. But I mean, you can take this, these type of habits like this, once you've built them, and then, you find yourself unable to do them. You got to look at what's going on. Are you sick? Are you overstressed? Are you overtraining? Are you not eating right? All these things come into energy, and all we're doing is saying you got to still keep up the normal energy habits that you would normally have in the day, shift them over to the night, because that's the biggest issue most people have is, they feel like crap in the morning because they haven't eaten all day, all night, and haven't had anything to drink all night either.
Yes.
And I know some of these night shifts are busy. I mean, I know you're busy, but you got to bring it. You got to bring food with you everywhere you go. You might be in an ambulance all day, all night, so making runs. So you got to bring it with you, just plan accordingly.
Yeah. What's interesting about this is that this is a fellow who's preparing himself for military service. He's now working third shift as an EMT. I mean, that's a spec ops life right there.
Oh yeah. Oh man, no kidding. I mean,
operating at night,
Yep. Yeah. It's just that's the way it is. So I mean, I would say this. I would. That's a great preparation.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell people all the time. One of the worst things you can do when you're preparing for like a spec ops job is to bust it really hard for 2 or 3 hours in the morning
Mhm.
and go take a nap for 3 hours, right? And go do another workout, go take another nap or, whatever. You're just eating, sleeping, and working out. Some of the best students I've ever seen were guys that would kick it hard in the morning, couple hour workout in the morning, and then they're going doing construction all day
Yeah.
or
Oh, no. It's
landscaping,
unbelievable. Yeah.
or they're just working, working on a farm. I can't tell you how many farm kid stories I have seen come true in like the spec ops world, right? And have never seen the ocean before, right? But they're just hard workers. They know how to wake up early in the cold and get stuff done. So, it doesn't matter what shift you're on, really. It's just one of those things that, you can prepare your body for with these certain habits. Now, I think probably one of the most important things that we haven't discussed, Tom, is the sleep.
Yes.
That's killer. And there are great ways to find sleep, but you have to be very proactive and search it. You have to find ways to be a better sleeper. That means blacking out your room. That means having some, white noise,
Mhm.
in your room somehow, whether it's a ceiling fan, a wall fan, whatever. Some, I don't know, music with whales music in it, whatever you need to do it, relaxing tunes, um, you know, something that's just, but the biggest thing is to make it dark.
Yeah.
And darkness is going to help your body to say, okay, it's nighttime. It's time to go to sleep.
Mhm.
If you got a big white light coming in, trying to nap or trying to actually sleep, not just nap, it could interfere with you getting into those, deep REM sleep patterns that you need for recovery. So,
Yeah, one of the points you make, Stu, and you make it in this article that we're referencing here that people can find called Nightshift. They can find it on military.com. One of the points you make here is about, in this particular case, because your recommendation is uh, do your work, then find a way to relax, and then get some sleep.
yeah,
Um, and you point out here, look, try to avoid caffeine 3 to 4 hours before this, because this is where you'll really be sensitive to caffeine. I mean, where in my
yeah,
case, I can drink a cup of coffee as I'm lying in bed and fall asleep. I can't do that if I do it this way. If I'm working a third shift like operation and I try to sleep at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there's no way.
right,
If I've been drinking caffeine for the last 3 or 4 hours.
yeah,
So that is another, it's just like you're talking about the blacking out of the environment. I found, and I think you and I have talked about this before also, air movement really helps. Stagnant room that's a little too warm
yeah,
will also keep you a little too tense. So
yeah.
if you get air movement, a fan, either over your head or there to move air around, even if the temperature is high, humidity is high, it still allows you to sleep easier.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point about caffeine. Sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, you want some caffeine to stay awake until 8 or 9 o'clock until your shift's done. But you know, what I would do is this. Crank out some jumping jacks. Jumping jacks, push ups, squats. Just kind of wake yourself up that way versus trying to get some stimulants in your body when in about 4 or 5 hours you're going to try to be sleeping again. So
Yeah, that's a really good thought. And the other thing about this is for people that haven't done this. So if you've really never been required to work like this fellow is, where he has to be on from 10 o'clock in the evening till 9 a.m. If you've never done this, there are a lot of obstacles that it's worth. And if you're really wanting to get into a tactical job that many times requires these kinds of hours, it's really worth training yourself to do this, to be able to
yeah,
do this, because most people at between 2 and 5 in the morning, you and I know this, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
That's our favorite time, between 2 in the morning and 5 in the morning. Because
Used to be. I don't like it anymore.
you don't.
In fact, I feel like I was on the night shift last night. We did a Spec Ops triathlon, night ops last night.
Did you
So
really?
we did a Spec Ops triathlon that started at 8 p.m. Right.
Oh
So
man.
we swam a mile, rucked 5 miles, and ran 5 miles. We were done about 10:30. But it was pitch black. It was a pure boogeyman swim and run. Oh, not the swim, because that was indoors.
That was indoors, yeah.
The run and the ruck were pure darkness, but it was fun. It was just a different thing that we like to do, and all these guys want to be spec ops guys, so it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm beat up from that. I feel like I worked all night almost, right? And it's just later. It's
Yeah.
not part of my normal schedule. So this little 3-hour workout that I did in the evening put a big curveball into my resting pattern, because I didn't go to bed till midnight because I was still up for a couple hours, later than I normally am. I wake up early. We're doing this thing. It's just, my schedule is a little bit jumbled too, and it takes some time to get used to these night schedules. So
Yes.
I would highly recommend, slowly starting to, taper yourself towards, if you got a night shift coming up and in a few days, get yourself some good night's sleep, because that's going to be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Get some good night's sleep, play around, make sure, a couple days out, your room's blacked out. You got all the crazy noise things off, alarms are off, all that stuff. And go from there, because I tell you, after a night shift, you're not going to want to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So prepare yourself while you're in a good state of mind to, know what you need to sleep. So,
Yeah, this is a kid, and if you asked me, if I were not working and I just had nothing else to do, 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a nice warm day is my favorite time to work out. It's just my favorite,
yeah.
because then I'm swimming at 6 o'clock and it's dusk and it's just, there's nothing better. But the problem is that that's not the most ideal thing when you have a full day's worth of work. And if I've done a full day's worth of work and I get back home at 4 o'clock, which doesn't happen because I teach it in the evenings, but um, you want to sit down and just relax.
Yeah.
So it's back to the old thing of especially in an environment where you're doing second and third shifts, you really need to get your workout out of the way in the morning to help you get yourself ready for that. Because the worst part of these kinds of shifts, and you and I have done this before, and we're telling this poor fellow about his life, I'm sure,
Yeah.
is that it's the downtime. It's the hour when nothing's happening and it's 3 a.m. and you're trying to find a way to keep yourself
Yeah. That's the
awake.
tough. Yeah.
And your point about jumping jacks or 8 counts or whatever you're doing, squats, to keep yourself going so that you don't end up, because that's the worst time, is those times. And anybody that wants to do these tactical jobs many times are done in the dark.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes you may have some downtime and you can take a 30-45 minute cat nap.
Absolutely.
Absolutely take it, when you got it, and you just got to wake up and be ready.
Jocko has a really interesting thing that he said he picked up when he was in high school that I've tried, and it works pretty well. And this is where you put you lie down on the ground and you put your legs up like on a sofa,
yeah, absolutely.
right?
Yep.
And
Up against the wall.
yep,
Yeah.
and you only let yourself go for, I think it's 20 minutes. You don't let yourself go any further than that, so you don't get into deep sleep. But boy, it is refreshing if you've got the time to do it and you limit yourself with your legs up like that. I've done it. I do. It's part of my routine, and it does really help if you need it.
Yeah, I did that yesterday.
Did you really?
Yep, sure did. Yep. Yeah, I have this little ottoman that I just kind of lay to the side, and it's just perfect because I can dangle my knees over it, Right. So everything's just like right there, and it stretches my back, and it's,
It's real.
you
It
know,
actually feels really good.
my
It,
dog
it,
comes next to
I
me,
was going to say it
snuggles
confuses my
in.
land shark, man.
Yeah,
She comes
it,
around going, "What the heck? What are you on my territory for?" So
yeah.
Stu, come back to the kinds of food that you think are really good here before, during, and after for
Yeah.
this kind of a situation.
Well, you know, anything that you would normally do during the day, those are your typical foods you want to keep doing. If it's junk food, don't do that. But good carbs, fruits, vegetables. One of my favorite snacks that are pretty high energy are nuts.
Yeah.
If you can get some nuts or berries in there, some trail mix, things like that. That's that's great. Now you need to watch out if you eat too much of that. That's a lot of calories to burn off, and if you're just sitting around doing nothing, it's just more calories you're going to have to burn off later, in workouts. But um, those are the big ones, and of course, your lean meats. You're going to want to have full meals,
Yeah.
through this shift, at lunch or at midnight, and a minute ago, we mentioned about working out first thing in the morning again. Well, your morning is now 9 p.m.,
Yes.
right? So you just shifted, right? Or 6 p.m., whatever that is. So before your shift, you're going to do your workout. So whatever you need to do to just get you through that hard workout, maybe some carbs, fruits, vegetables, sports drink, whatever, get you through that workout. And then you eat a good breakfast to help you recover from that, which a breakfast would be now 10 p.m., right? Or 9 p.m.,
9
right?
p.m.
So,
probably in this case. Yeah.
right. So, it doesn't have to be breakfast. It can be, some form of lean meat, vegetable, fruit, good source of, protein drink, milk, whatever fits your ability to handle, and don't do anything new, just do the stuff that you always used to do, just shift it over 12 hours, and you'll find getting into that night shift's a lot easier. If you have to change a lot of other things to make this new night shift habit work, you're going to find it more difficult. It's very similar to, people at like New Year's resolutions, right? I hate New Year's resolutions because what happens? People start working out, they start dieting, they quit smoking, they quit drinking, they do it all at once, right? And they're trying to change 5 or 6 habits. They're getting rid of bad habits or putting in new habits all at the same time. And it's just a perfect storm for failure. So, same thing for this night shift. Just take whatever you do during the day, shift it over to the night. You got no new habits to build other than this one night shift thing. You're staying up during the night. Nothing else has changed. Your food has stayed the same. Your workouts have stayed the same. You're going to work out before work. You're going to cool down after work. It's just shifted 12 hours.
Yeah. And so one of the dangers in doing this, if you're in a family situation, dangers is not the right word, but one of the things that could cause you a little bit of problem. In this particular case, if we just look at the timing, this fellow he's going to work starting at 10 p.m. The likelihood is he's going to be probably getting awake from his rest about the time his family is getting ready to have dinner.
Yeah.
And there's the first thing that will just bog you down, is if you sit down for a big dinner when you've just gotten up
Yeah.
and you haven't worked out yet.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
little challenge. I mean, you lighten it up a little bit. I know you start at 10, but you have to put in your head you're starting at 9 because you got to get that 30-45 minute workout. It doesn't have to be a long workout. It just needs to be something to wake you up.
Yeah.
Like some of the anaerobic, moderate to high intensity workouts will wake you up and keep your metabolism up through a time when your metabolism is normally down. So that is a big help. Like I said, last night I did this long workout and it kept me up for 2 or 3 more hours
Yes.
past than I normally would be awake.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah. And so one of the things I used to do when I was in that situation, Stu, is I would take the dinner and that would become my quote midrats or lunch or mid or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
But you wouldn't eat it then. You'd eat something more like a breakfast like thing while your family. You would take your stuff, save it, take it with you, and that became your mid-work lunch. So that would be the 1 a.m., the midnight meal for you.
Yeah.
And that really helps because again, if you're not, like Stu said, if you're not careful with how you function this, it throws your body off because your body is so used to other signals.
Yeah.
It's usually that 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, you're eating with your family, you're having a nice big meal. Now you're going to go work out, try to work out hard, and then you're going to try to stay up for the next 12 hours.
Yeah.
That's tough,
Yeah,
especially when the cycle is off, the darkness, time of day, that sort of thing.
Yeah. One last thing on the food thing. When you eat lunch, after lunch, it's really hard to stay awake, in the
Yes.
middle of the day.
Yes.
Right? It's even twice as hard to
It
stay
is.
awake
Yes.
in the middle of the night. So you got to really watch, the crappy foods there because, like the empty carbohydrates, the breads, the pastas, um, the sugars, all of those things will just, it'll give you a little spike, but then you'll just crash. And, by 1-2 o'clock in the morning, then you got to take caffeine to stay awake, and there's nothing wrong with caffeine in this process. I'm just saying, if you really want a good night's sleep or a good day's sleep at, 9 a.m., when you come back around, you probably want to limit drinking any caffeine after 4 a.m. Right. So it's just one of those things. So there's a lot to this, I know, but I tried to simplify it as much as I could to just say, take your normal habits, shift it 12 hours and do as best as you can to maintain that normalcy, in your night shift that you would if it was a day shift of the same time.
Yeah. And really, this is where it's important to focus on these things. It's one thing, Stu, for you and me to say, get up early, work out, go to work, eat well, hydrate, get rest, repeat. But here, in this case, when you're shifting against the rhythms that normal people and bodies function, it's really heightened. And so this is a great question, and it's incredibly relevant to all these tactical positions.
Yeah, tactical, medical,
Yep.
security work, all that type of stuff is requires sometimes a 24/7 shift, and some weeks you work night shift, some weeks you work day shift, and that's almost worse.
It is.
You just kind of get in this habit of day shift, night shift, flipping and flopping, and but if you have a good steady habit of both,
Yes,
you can find ways to maneuver that and it not be as disruptive as and unhealthy. If it can be seriously unhealthy and lead to chronic stress problems if you're not able to recover from all of that stress by having normal food, normal drinks, normal rest and recovery and sleep periods that you have able, though they're not normal with night sleeping, it's a normal for you because you have a system that makes it work for you.
Yeah, it gets back to this point we were talking about developing these habits that work. Like you and I know, we get up early, we work out, we have a good breakfast, we then go do our work. If you develop these habits over the years and you know how you can shift them and keep them functioning for you when you have to for off-hour work, then when you're like me, you've struggled with trying to get healthy, when you're back in that routine, when you can do that again on a regular basis, that you're okay.
Nice.
You're headed in the right direction. Right.
Very good point.
So what's up these days down in what kind of training are you doing down in Maryland these days? I know I'm getting a chance to come see. You're coming to see me.
Yes, yeah, coming to see you there in a few weeks. But I will say this:
down in Maryland these days.
You know what? Last year I wrote and spoke quite a bit. In fact, I got a lot done. It was probably one of my most prolific years ever. Actually wrote 8 books. And I did over 100 podcasts, many of them with you. And you're the one that started, like, you got to have a podcast, dude. Let's talk about it. And you helped me with it. And it just kind of evolved over the years with, you and Jeff and, a couple other guest, interviewers. And it's just been a fun way to just enhance the, another media method to get,
Yeah.
get the message out there. But yeah, here's what I did last year. You want to see?
I do.
So we got this. Tactical mobility. That is
Yeah.
part 3 of Tactical Fitness and Tactical Strength trilogy, Tactical Mobility. Now, luckily, I did this with 2 other people that are really big into yoga, mobility work, mindfulness, things like that. It's a really good book for that. And I just kind of made it with a tactical edge to it. So, yeah, they were a big help. That's probably the only reason why I was able to do 8 books is because I had help with that one. Then this one, this is just pure fun.
Those are
right?
so good.
The Warrior Workouts, volume 1 and 2. Volume 3 is done, but it's in the printing process. And all these are, I don't know if I've shown all these, but these are just pages of workouts. They're a la carte workouts arranged in upper body workouts, lower body workouts, spring periodization workouts, summer periodization workouts. And all they are these cards that I write up every day and I test out here. So that's just a workout, one of the many workouts that we do here. Something, let me see if you recognize any of these. This is a big one. When it's a big card, it's going to be a lot of stuff. So
yeah, exactly.
got the old squat pyramid. That one's hellacious.
Yeah.
Pull-ups and deadlifts and farmer walks up and down stairs and
oh man, look at
all
that.
this good stuff. So anyway,
Swim with fins. There we go.
there you go. So anyway, that's what those are, and they're a lot of fun. Especially for people who like to get books and maybe not necessarily be in a program, but they need an idea for an upper body day. Go to page 23 and they say, oh, cool, I can do the superset with a swim cool down or whatever, right? So that's 4 of the published books. And then I did 4 self-published books for the Tactical Athlete Over 40.
Yep.
Because this is one of those things where I was actually teaching a program, for business entrepreneurs how to write a book to enhance their business. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this with you. I've had this book idea I wanted to do. I've been neglecting this market of, 40 and over. I think, they've been with me for 20 years. Now they're 40. What should they do now? And so we created this little 4-part series. You got the foundation building for beginners, recovering from injury. We got taking it to the next level, ready to advance your fitness, right? If you built that foundation, we got ready to compete, preparing for the next challenge. And then the last 4, which I ran out of copies, is my other one, Tactical Fitness for Athlete Over 40, Actively Pursuing Recovery and Maintenance. So that is a more advanced. So I created that one first, and then those last 3 that I just showed you are kind of like the prequels to it, right? Because that one was a really tough one. It's what I do here locally with myself and a bunch of other, police and fire team or SWAT guys that are, 35 to 45 years old. I even have one that's 55 years old. And it's kind of our new rules. Our new rules for 40 and over, right, is 1, you need to come to realization that you cannot outwork your diet anymore, right? So you have to really start reeling in your diet. And it comes down to moderation of calories and good food. If you eat a crap diet or too many calories, you're just not going to lose weight. 2 is if you run, you should start considering running every other day, right? Your knees are banged up from decades of running. So consider running if you're still under 200 pounds or borderline 200 plus, consider running every other day. If you're a 150-pound guy, running probably isn't going to be as stressful on you as it would be the 210-pound guy, So, running every other day will enable you to have a non-impact cardio day in between, which your knees and back will thank you. Mobility days. One of your hard workouts that you have during the week needs to just be replaced with a pure mobility day. Make it Wednesday, make it Thursday, middle of the week. It's like this nice little little island that you have in the middle of the week to kind of refocus on biking, elliptical, foam rolling, stretching, the car buffer,
Yeah.
right? Get yourself a carb buffer. Did you get a carb buffer yet?
Yes, I do.
Oh, love that thing, right? So it just loosens you up. Do that, and then go swim, tread water, do dynamic stretches in the pool. So that's a very big rule. And yeah, I guess that's the big three. Don't
Yeah.
run every day. Can't outwork your diet and mobility days. And
On the one thing that you said to me one time, and actually you said it to me on the podcast here, which I thought was really fascinating. That's so logical. It says, look, your body structure is the same. So for the 300-pound person, that knee structure is the same as it is for a 150-pound or 130-pound person. So when you are running as a 200 or 220-pound person, you're putting a lot more weight on the same structure that 150-pound person is putting it on.
yeah, and think about it too. I mean, we have evolved very quickly into 200 plus pound humans.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. 200 years ago, it was rare to see a 200 plus
Absolutely.
pound human, right? Our knees have not evolved to catch up with that process, so
Yeah.
you may not even have any knee injuries whatsoever, like, an ACL tear from football in high school or whatever. You just may be a very big guy. Typically, you're probably going to need a new knee by the time you're 50, if you just
Crazy.
go on and on and on, especially if you do even, harder activities on it than walking. But anyway, it's just the way it is. And I'm not talking like in generalities here. It's just, or I guess I am talking in generalities here. It's just statistics, right?
Yeah,
Statistically
and it's
speaking,
also
more
the other
weight
thing,
on it, and physics.
and the other thing too, Stu, is that knowing whether your body uh, is can take the punishment. You and I, we haven't had any. I'm not. There's no hint of me needing any kind of joint replacements or. I mean, and they cut all over my whole face, and you can't see any scars at all because I just heal,
Right.
and I heal really well. You're the same way. You've really do a lot with yourself, and you're not getting any knees replaced or that
Yeah, I
kind of
feel
thing.
good. I mean, I'm stiff. I won't lie. I'm last
Yeah.
night,
But,
made me stiff. And you know what? I got smart too, because I didn't do the full ruck.
okay.
I instead of doing a 5 mile ruck, I turned around at like this 3 mile point. One, because all these 20-year-olds were way ahead of me, and I was just like, I'm going to finish for everybody else, so I'm just turning around. But you have to judge those things,
Yeah.
and pull back on certain things, because what's the point? I'm I'm just doing it for fun. I don't need to hurt myself to be having fun.
Yes.
So
Yes. And
anyway,
so being sensitive to that and knowing that is an important part of your training
yeah.
when you're doing this. But no, that's great, man. And so now also you write articles. So on
Oh,
top of the podcast you do with me and the books you've written in the last 12 months, you've also written how many articles?
well, I have to write 12 new articles a month for military.com, so 3 a week. And then I edit 14 from, do you remember the old about.com website?
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah.
I edit all those old military ones,
Do you
right?
really?
And they're really rough. I mean, they changed the whole website. It's not about.com anymore. It's called
Yeah.
thebalance.com or dot dash, I think. They just changed the name of it and rebranded it. But anyway, all these old military articles are there, and they're basically just cut and paste from DoD websites, which is horrible,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And it's like, here's an article on the medical disqualifications for the Navy, and it's literally a cut and paste from the memorandum that tells you, like
Oh,
what
geez.
it is from the, yeah. So it's very boring read. So I have to go in and doctor those. And so, but I'm learning a lot, because I have to do research and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun, but I do 14 of those a month. So that's like, 26 articles a month I'm doing. And on top of all that, so when I say I work out and write about it, I'm not lying. That's what I do. I work out and
It's
I write
about
about it.
that. Take
And
care of your family, and man, that's it. That's it.
right, yeah. So
That's
yeah, it's
it.
fun.
Well, look, bud, that's great. And I'm going to see you next week, and we're going to try to do a podcast on location here in
All right,
Connecticut.
that's cool. We'll do an old man workout.
Yes, a very old man workout. Stu's going to do a workout and drag the old man.
All right, I like it. That'd be good.
All right, pal. Well, this has been Tactical Fitness Report with Stu Smith, number 102, the
All
night
right.
shift.
All right,
Thank you,
Tom.
pal.
Thank you very much.
I'll
Have a
talk
good
to you
one.
later.
All right.